Hello everyone, welcome back to another HMG episode. So you've got Daniel and Gorcin, who's returning behind the cam after a little bit of a hiatus.
Good to be back.
Yeah, glad to have some more chats. And we're going to be doing probably something a little short and sharp about something not so short and sharp, or maybe it is, which is Spartan. So this is one, Matt Castles and Liam typically come together to pull this crazy brainchild together around Spartan.
Yeah, say that again.
Yeah, I know. And so the primary aim of Spartan back in V2 was to really stretch people's imaginations on how to build lists and how to bring things to the forefront, which meant they were often very lax on restrictions. And so, yeah, that's putting it gently. But the benefit of doing that is we got to see some very creative list building in Perth. It's something maybe a little bit more optimized and tuned that we wouldn't normally see. And so that was great for our variety. We liked having that as part of our mix. V3, of course, and the new structures and how you build things, we kind of went, well, we don't have to make those rules anymore. So now we're just going to focus on what the fun can come out of Spartan. And there's some. We got 12 confirmed players and a very spread mix of lists of different things. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, look, it's good to see, especially. I really loved where Spartan started in particular, coming sort of in that tail end during what a lot of us didn't realize was effectively the swan song for V2, right? Those last couple of years, that 18-month period. That was really when Spartan originally kicked on, and it like $250 cash prize to the winner. There's a permanent trophy or everlasting trophy or whatever they're called. There's a Spartan helmet, perpetual. Yeah, thank you. That goes around to the winner every year. So it really was trying to bring that edge of competitiveness to Perth. Now, that's not to say that we don't have competitive players, and I think our recent showing of Perth players and Australian players at WTC and a few other places has shown that we know what we're doing, or at least one of us or a couple of us knows what we're doing. But at the same time, just the permission was given to take the gloves off. Now, a lot of that meant that lists ended up being a little bit samey. We did get a bit more variety in Spartan and V2 than we did at some other tournaments. But again, it was all the kind of usual winning stuff that you saw. It was either like Gurkhas and Stewarts, multiple rocket launches, all the V2 box ticking exercises. In V3, I've had a brief look over the lists, and most of them I can't make heads or tails of what they're trying to do.
Oh, I know. Yeah. I'm going to get absolutely destroyed.
But I think the key thing that I really dig about Spartan is that it's always about like gloves off, and that's not necessarily to say that people are playing like rude or mean or anything like that, or you can't have a fair game. None of that. But it's just that from a tournament design perspective and from the mission pack, it's gloves off. So, true spirit of that, what? Like grand strategy for all 3 rounds?
The grand tactical mission type. So, we and I was part of the initial discussions with Matt and Liam about what they wanted to do, and I was like, look, if you want Spartan to be not just a list component where you're driving hard on trying to make a good list, which is arguably you could do that in most events. If you want your event to stand out and do something different, play with the missions in some way, do something different with the missions. And so I can't remember whether it was me or whether it was Matt or Liam, but someone suggested, what if we throw like one of the grand tactical ones in there as like a really like a field disruptor,
no, it wasn't me.
And that then transitioned from, well, why don't we, instead of doing it just for the one, why don't we really make all our players want to cry themselves to sleep after losing and do it for all 3? Okay, maybe that's just me. That's probably just me. And so Grand Tactical is like the fundamental mission on page 133, where Warlord in the rulebook is like, if you really want a challenge, just play all the primary missions at once.
Just play all the primary missions at once. Yeah. And it also ignores any of the combination restrictions, right? Because there's some some missions where you can't outflank and reserve, and some that you should play with some of those limitations. And Grand Tactical just goes, it's all good.
No, it's just do it all. Yeah,
just do it all.
And so there is a possibility when we roll up, the deployment types and the edges and stuff, that it's like it's going to be a real bad day for some people, but the reality is that, it will test our players quite a bit more than what they used to. Especially because the points limit went up to 1250. So 1250 typically was around where Spartan would play, but 1250 in V3 is quite a lot of space to do things. But with minimal other restrictions to be seen, but only 2.5 hours to play, we're gonna have to be on our toes. It's gonna be tight.
Yeah, it'll be good though. It'll be a good time. Now,
it's gonna be great.
I suppose just to clarify, all of the everybody's playing the same deployment for each round, but we just don't know what that is.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, when I looked at it, and I think your point about all of the missions being like grand tactical or grand strategy, I think that's actually the best choice. If you're going to include grand tactical, just go nuts and do all of them. Now, it's not like in for a penny, in for a pound kind of thing. But I think because grand tactical is fundamentally different.
Yes.
Right? You all of the other objectives or all of the other primaries, you're going, no, I need to hold ground, or I need to kill my opponent, or I need to strike at a specific objective. Grand tactical is you're actually playing a balancing act. If you sit down and you try to do the math, there's not really one strategy that comes out blanket better. Of course, your list building will change that, and your matchups will change. Which strategy is better?
Correct.
And I think because of all of those things, it makes it more sense to do all three as grand tactical.
Yeah, I think one of the benefits, ironically, of this format is the fact that each player is going to get, on the day, 3 attempts to figure out the best way to play grand tactical missions.
Yeah.
And so, by the end of round 3, we'll be like, oh, next time I'll know that I can do this. And that's actually good. Like, some people are obviously going to find that maybe a little confronting at first, and that's fully understandable. But it's actually a really good learning experience for all the players involved, because you have to, like you say...
Myself included,
Oh, yeah, me as well. That balancing act and that juggling component of, and with the way that the points work, like, because I have tried to do a lot of math to try and figure out... and purely from a point of view of, is there a way that someone can cheese this and take the fun out of it for everyone? And I was like, I tried several different things, and I was like, you have to really skew your list.
Yeah, like, and even then,
I was like, I'm not super convinced that it's going to play off. Because people were like, oh, we'll just run off the board. And it's like,
because there's no order dice cap.
Because there's no order dice cap, right? So it's like, I'll just order dice up, and I'll just run everything off the board, and whatever dies, it won't matter because I'll make up the differential. Yeah, that's fine, except if you are not doing anything but running off the board, yes, you're going to score a huge amount of points for those units, but you're giving up all the objective points on the table.
Yeah.
You're like, and there was, I think I counted it, it's almost 40 points worth of objectives on the table.
Yeah, see, off the top of my head, I was going to say 30, but I think you're right. I think it's closer to 40.
Yeah, because the demolition, the briefcase, and the central key objective are all worth 5 each. They all get a bump up.
Yeah.
And it's like your opponent...
Plus you got key positions.
Key positions. And your opponent's going to kill stuff on the way through, because if you're taking a huge amount of dice, you typically aren't going to have strong units. So
you like, but I'll just run from like one corner to the other, and it's like he just has to put a couple of things on ambush, like an autocannon or something like this, and on a rotating platform. Which, spoilers, V3 has a lot of autocannons.
Yes, V3's got a lot of autocannons.
Yeah. It's or even it doesn't even necessarily have to be an autocannon. Like you take we're seeing a lot of light vehicle spam.
Yep.
Or like anything armor 7, armor 8 with a roof. You're seeing a lot of those.
Yes.
Sometimes even without a roof.
Yeah.
And so I'm really not...
Looks at my list.
And so I'm really like, yes, on paper, you can't just run off the board. And I think that's the thing about like Grand Tactical, right? Is that on paper, any one of those individual strategies works.
Yes.
Is it going to survive contact with the enemy?
Yeah, probably not. And especially when you go, it's like, but the terrain's probably going to mean you can't run in a straight line. You're going to end up at some point car parking your units to a degree. And with the new subtle changes to how units run off the board, it's like, for that unit to get off the board, every single model has to get within 1 inch.
Yeah.
So you can't daisy chain and then just have them all
just
leapfrog.
Tag it. Yeah.
Yep. They all have to get there.
And they also curtailed football with the briefcase as well. I can't remember exactly how it works now. I need to go and double check before Spartan, but I remember they slowed it down a lot.
Yes.
So you can't do
you essentially can't pass it to another unit now. So the only way to pass it off is for that unit to be completely destroyed, because otherwise it will just bounce around the world. Ironically, it looks very similar to what I did with Find the Informant, but...
only so many ways to skin a cat.
Oh, look, yeah.
And look, their platoon structure looks awfully familiar to what I did for Bad. So
and so we're not going to claim that, but we had similar ideas.
He's not going to claim it, I will. So talk to me about your list, Dan. What are you bringing?
So, This was a very interesting format to build within. I typically look at the restrictions and then go, okay, what can I fit in that space? And obviously there were no restrictions. So I looked at what would I like to bring? And I went, I like the idea of having a really solid Ranger core for US Army Ranger Corps.
Makes sense.
And leveraging that extra movement. I feel that in Grand Tactical, that's going to apply a lot of pressure very, very quickly. And then
half the deployments are first wave, right?
Yeah. And so I'm like, there's a lot that is going to be able to allow me to get that extra 6 to 12 inches probably into terrain, so I can start holding those positions. It'll be particularly useful in anything if we roll up quarters deployment as well. Yeah. Because you'll be sitting at that 12-inch mark, and then I can just ram into the center. Now, of course, when I was going through and designing the list, which for those that have seen it on Facebook, you can go have a look, but I'll just quickly rattle it off here. I've got 4 Ranger squads. Sorry, 3 Ranger squads and 2 bumped up command teams, which also have the Ranger rules. So they're essentially Ranger squads. They're between 6 to 7 on each of them. So it's only about 35 infantry, but they are all veteran. And so they
with cover.
Cover. And so those things do start to have an impact. They do not have a bar to their name at all. BARs. There's no BARs at all. And that was just because when I was juggling points, I was like, SMGs are slightly cheaper for what I'm looking at, and I can fit them in a bit easier. So a couple of SMGs are thrown around, command squads have a couple more. And then I was like, right, I think that's my infantry done. What was the other thing I wanted? Oh, that's right. I really wanted to see, in an event environment within Perth, what does it look like if I take the dual Air Force Observer? And so that was something where I was like, I want to bring that in. I want to play with those new rules. 2 reasons for that. One, if I run into someone who has limited or no anti-aircraft, the potential is they're going to have a really bad day. Because it's 4 potentially airstrikes over the turns. The other reason is by doing it this way, selfishly as a TO, I will know how this thing works inside and out to help everyone else as we move forward. So I was like, happy days, dual purpose, 2 birds, 1 stone, great. And then I was like, oh, right. But like V3 is totally the addition about mechanized units and mechanized warfare. And I was like, I've literally, okay, so I've got 4 airstrikes. Well, that's not going to cut it. So then I was like, well, bazooka squads. And the way that I'd done it, I've got a rifle platoon and a recce platoon. I was like, great, 1 bazooka in each of those, happy days. They both also Rangers. And then I was like, I need more anti-tank. How do I get more anti-tank? I don't want to commit to any more points, of course, because I've already worked out what I want to do here. And so I went back and flicking backwards and forwards, a couple of different options, and I went, you know what? I'm going to give the twin bazooka Jeep a run. And that's something... I think it's a good
pick.
Yeah.
It's still a shaped charge, right?
It's still got shaped charge, so it's just 2 bazooka weapon profiles mounted on a Jeep. The armored Jeep profile means that when I'm taking small arm hits in the front arc, I don't actually roll, I don't get damaged.
Soft skin,
So I still take the pins, but I don't take the soft skin damage. So it's like it's a pseudo immunity to small arms fire.
Sure.
Which that's quite attractive. They've also got recce, so if I do somehow horribly misplace that, they can just get out of dodge. But it's the ability to like move 12 inches and be able to have 2 bazooka shots coming off, hitting on 5s. And I'm like, they're a counterpunch unit. They don't have the range to be a strike unit. But I'm like...
I mean, you got a 36-inch threat bubble with 2 pivot, or with 1 pivot. Yeah, so, you move 12, you've got a pivot in there, range 24, you're shape charge, so even if you're at 36, you're not losing any pen.
Not losing any pen.
Yeah, like, it's a good unit. Bad. It's a good unit. And, like, a lot of people, it's like, oh, but it's only 2 shots. And you're like, well, let's ask a different question. Would you take a bazooka with a reroll to hit?
Yeah,
which is the
100%.
Same. Yeah, except it's slightly better because with a reroll to hit, you can only get 1 hit.
Correct.
Whereas with
I can
when
actually
rolling
generate 2 dice to hit.
Sure, the normal distribution might shift a little bit, but I think it all comes out in the wash.
Yeah.
Given a choice, I would take 2 shots over 1 with a reroll.
And that's the way I looked at it. I went. There's a good chance here that whenever I'm taking a shot, arguably, let's say that like if I somehow get a shot without having to move and it's like 4s, I'm like, that's great. If I can get into the rear or the side of something to make those bazooka shots really stack up on pen, that's dangerous. If I can get within point blank, that's pretty much a dead target. Like
Pretty
two
much.
point blank bazookas, like,
Yeah.
I am sorry. Like, that might happen.
But the other great thing about obviously shaped charge is that it's 2-inch HE against buildings.
That is the other part. So when you look at my list, it's like, oh, Daniel has like no HE. And I was like, not quite. I actually have mobile...
Situational
HE. And it comes in the form of 2 bazooka mounted units and then 2 foot mounted bazooka units. So
Yeah, look, that's not bad.
it's... the one thing I will say about my list as I was going through it, because I'm not blind to my own flaws in how I build lists. I typically do a lot of glass cannon style things. My lists are very fragile. So if you can figure out how to crack it, it falls up. Like, my tools will fight until the bitter end, but it will fall apart. So for anyone playing on Spartan, keep that in mind.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting, both of us coming into this, I think we have a similar list building like framework, right? Where we look at the pack and go, okay, what does the pack say in terms of what I can and can't do? Okay, so we had 1250 points, and that was the only restriction. Okay. You can take whatever order dice you wanted. I mean, all the usual stuff, like if you need to ask your opponent for permission, you can't use the rule. But I mean, practically speaking, the only restriction was 1250. So it's like, okay. And then both of us wanted to play Army of USA. New book, we're both USA players. We wanted to play with the new toys. And then after I looked at that, I kind of went and looked at the missions, right? Because the missions are going to tell you what you should be bringing. And then, of course, it's Grand Tactical, and we just had a conversation about how...
Bring everything.
Well, you have lots of different viable strategies. But I think because the deployment zones weren't known, and because I needed to be flexible, and I think learning this from a lot of other war games and tabletop RPGs that are like combat heavy and stuff, is that like movement is hands down the most important thing, right? Being in the right place, what matters. A lot of people spend a lot of time focusing on damage profiles and toughness and leadership and all the other sorts of stuff, and all those things matter.
They do.
But at the end of the day, if they're in the wrong spot, it's irrelevant. 100% irrelevant. And so I went very similar. I went, okay, I want some ranges. I really enjoyed my 2 M8 Scots and the half tracks that I bought. So I said, hey, like, that's just a fun thing to play. So I'm just going to play more of that. So I went with 2 Ranger squads at, I think, 10 men, I want to say. Maybe 12. 154 points. I can't quite do the math right now, but that might be a full gamut. I did the same. I didn't take any BARs. Just because, like, let's say you take 12 men and you upgrade one of them to BAR. You've spent points and you haven't changed your number of shots.
Yeah, it's exactly the same. Which is very similar to when I was looking at it, I was like... Probably not for me. Right?
And then I kind of ended up basically doing that same calculus with everything else that you find in the Army of USA that's unique to Armies of USA. It's like, yeah, cool. I can get like, I have a rifle squad that I can put into a mortar like slot on a weapons team, and I was like, but I actually just want the mortar. And then I was like, but if I just want another rifleman squad, I could pay 21 to 30 points for a lieutenant, and then I can get access to like another 4.
Yeah.
I don't really want a rifle squad in my mortar slot. And then I was like, but I also don't want a rifle squad attached to my mortar, because that's one of the other options that you have. And I was like, because I want my mortar to do mortar things, and I want my squads to be running around taking and holding ground.
Yep.
And so a lot of this like slot breaker stuff in the US, I just kind of went, what's the point? At least in a competitive sense. Thematically, the extra selection for bazookas, I think, is probably the only... the only real one that sticks out to me is the obvious, like, no, you need to genuinely think about whether or not this is worth doing.
Very cheap, very simple to get more AT into the list.
And we've just talked about all the great things about bazookas. But yeah, so my list is 2 Ranger squads, 2 INR squads. Not for any particular reason, just because they had a nice mix of, like, regulancy, veterancy, and SMGs and stuff like this. And also, like, hidden can be really fucking annoying. And so being able to, like, break hidden at 18 is nice. I got 2 half tracks. So the INR squads are in the half tracks with officers, and they're going to do the usual yelling into and out of and at transports. The Ranger squads obviously can just hoof on. I've got 2 medium mortars, 2 bazooka teams. I might just be 1. 2 M8 Scots, 2 half tracks, and a 3/4 ton truck, and a light mortar. So basically, the idea is that, like a good Australian infantryman, if it's worth taking 1, it's worth taking 2.
Yes.
And so I just basically took 2 of everything, and then I just chucked the light mortar in there. Basically, I kind of went, I need mobility. Rangers are going to give me mobility. Transports are going to give me mobility. Tracked vehicles are going to give me mobility. And at least this case, if my original plan fails, and that's the one I deployed for, as in to set up my units, I have the mobility to counteract that. If my opponent starts doing something clever and I need to respond to it, I should be able to move around. I've got a lot of tools in the list. No real direct AT threats. I said 2 bazooka teams, but I think it's only 1. And my M8 Scots only have light howitzers. I do have 4 HMGs in the list, so I'm not concerned about putting pins on vehicles, and I found that to be really effective. And even just like dumping HMG shots into the side of a Sherman, you actually get through them without too much trouble. Even the ones that don't have thin sides, you'll get through them.
It's something when we were chatting with Jackson after WTC, and it was because he went heavy on like HMGs and MGs, and we're like trying to position those things into advantageous positions, so into flanks, into rear arcs, and wherever possible point blank to really capitalize on the hits. And it was like, honestly, it like way outperformed what I thought it was gonna do. And
the same thing when I played them in like that first tournament that I played in V3. I was like, what the hell? Only 3 shots and I'm doing what with them?
And when we're used to V2 heavy machine guns, where it was like, oh my goodness, you want me to spend how many points for 3 shots? Because like it was not the same. Whereas now, like they got their bump in their range, so they shoot out that little bit further. They obviously foot mounted went up to 6 shots as a foot team, which
finally
that's also like, I'm still trying to reconcile that like in general.
I need to paint that HMG.
I know, that's what I'm like, there's a few there where I'm like, I might actually get those guys out and do them up now, because even as a like, it's that +1 on the infantry, like so an HMG overseeing an objective point to cap it out, and knowing that even if a veteran infantry squad comes up to it, it's like, I got 6 shots coming down, it's a good chance I'm hitting on 4s because I'm not moving, and then I'm going to hurt anything in the game on 4s or better, and you're just like, almost anything in the game.
Almost.
But even then you're just like, it's pretty good.
It's pretty good. It's HMGs, they're pretty good. So I think, look, Spartan's going to be a fun event. That's the important part. What are you expecting to happen? I think you kind of touched on it a little bit, but like, I think a lot of us...
You mean in the instances where I don't just get smashed?
Like, I think a lot of it's just going to be people figuring out ground tactical.
Yes.
I think what you're going to see is round 1, you're going to see a couple of players who've done their homework more than I have. And they're going to come out swinging. And then everybody else is going to...
Because they know they have to. Yeah. I expect that what we will see...
I got about like a minute left.
Yeah, sweet. I expect that what we will see is a lot of people will naturally focus on 1 or 2, and they'll use 1 or 2 of the primary missions to try and get in. And
just lock the strategy around that.
And they'll either lock down a flank, or they'll try and drive for the center, and the center will be a massive firefight. Yeah, so the center might be a massive firefight, and I
think you're right.
That's where I like. So everyone does love a good vortex of death in the middle of the board. And so like we've had scenarios where we've tried to create missions before that weren't meant to do that ended up doing that, and everyone had a ball. And so I'm like, that part's still going to be fun. But in terms of if we're looking at how you win Grand Tactical, predominantly you have to get into that center early, and you need to try and crack your opponent's going to thrust at the same time, and you've got to be able to blunt that and push it back. You really then pick one of the flanks, either left or right, because you can't. It's very unlikely that you're going to be able to equally fight across the entire frontage of the board. And in Grand Tactical, if you want a clean sweep, that's what you have to do.
I think trying to contest the entire board at once is a fundamental mistake. Not just in Grand Tactical and not just in bolt action.
No,
it's a
generally.
If you can force that mistake, like a forced error on your opponent to try to contest the entire board, that's going to be a deciding factor. I think, like, I don't necessarily disagree in terms of like the way that you think that's going to play out. My strong suspicion about Grand Tactical and about Spartan, it's the people who really separate in terms of like win-loss draws are going to be the people who are able to deny their opponent scoring. Because scoring Grand Tactical is easy, and so what's really going to come out is if you're a player who can deny your opponent scoring, that's going to be the deciding factor.
Yeah.
Can you stop them getting off the board? Can you stop them controlling the objectives? Can you stop them holding the center?
Yeah.
Right? And so I think you have to do a careful analysis of your list and their list and make a good like bank on what they're going to try and do and try to prevent that. And not necessarily get baited in them doing the same thing to you, which is the hard part, right? Because there is something really attractive about, okay, if I'm going to play the center, I need to grab the center early.
Yeah.
Right? Particularly at a tournament, game timer being what it is, you know, you don't want to be like, oh, I would have held the center if we went to turn 6, and it's like an hour and 55 minutes into the round. You're like, it's like top of turn 3, my friend, and you don't hold the center, it's game over for you.
Yep.
Now, obviously, all games should go to turn 6, and, you know, we should play in the game timer, but I'm also practical. I know that doesn't always happen.
Yeah, and there is that moment of like, when you, after you've played war games for a while, you start to be able to learn to predict where things will unravel. And so, you know, I expect that a lot of our players are going to face that realization with Grand Tactical a lot faster than normal, because they'll start tracking what they have let the opponent score versus what they have scored.
Yeah.
And then your question is, well, can I find ways to make up the difference before the end of the timer to get even and still hold them in place? Because you've got to do both. And we'll see what happens, I guess.
Yeah, no, that, again, I don't think you're wrong. I just have a completely different perspective, but that'll be the proof in the pudding, right? We'll see what happens on Sunday. Because my prediction is that like people's ability to keep score is going to be obfuscated.
Yes,
they're not going to be able to keep track of that game state.
Yeah, we shouldn't see that runaway lead component.
No, I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying I'm saying that like one person's going to accurately assess it, and one person's going to inaccurately assess it, and you're going to end up with a huge runaway lead, and one way or the other, right? Yep. And I think it's because there's so many objectives and so many things to keep track of.
There is,
and bolt action is not that kind of game.
No.
Right? It's not all of the other times you score at the end, there's one round of scoring, you're playing for one objective, and things
or at maximum it's like, okay, I might have 6 things, but I only really need to, I touch 3 of them and I can move on. Yeah. Like I don't have to worry too much about them.
And it's just not that kind of game where you're
no, it's not.
Where you have like, you know, there are plenty of other systems where objectives are shifting all the time.
Yeah.
Or you know, at the start of every round, or there's a mechanic where you have to try to guess your opponent's like missions as well. And bolt action is not that kind of game. So and a lot of the and that's not a criticism. It's just like a spade is a spade. And I think because of that and what a lot of players are used to, I don't think they're not going to be able to keep track of that.
I think that's a valid point. Yeah, I think that's a valid point.
But we can sit here and talk till the cows come home. The proof will be the pudding on Sunday. Hey?
It will. And look, I think, you know, what we will probably find as well is that'll be different in Grand Tactical is the ability to opportunistically score or deny points.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that Spartan has with its secondaries is infantry killing a armor 7 or higher vehicle, extra points. A command team, a small team winning a close combat, extra points. Command teams running in and winning close combats, 5 extra points. So and I've got big command teams.
Yeah, and I think it speaks to my bias because I actually don't think the secondaries are going to come into it. But
they may not.
Basically, I think you know what you're saying is that the games are going to be closer.
Potentially.
And so the secondaries might matter.
Yep.
And I'm thinking the other way. I'm thinking the game's going to be like washes one way or another, and so the secondaries aren't going to matter. Again.
And we won't know. Yeah, we won't know.
I don't know. You don't know. We'll find out.
No. So, the big gamble, of course, is, you know, if Gorcin and I play one another. Now, because of our list compositions, Gorcin's got a decent amount. You've got 4 heavy machine guns that are pintle mounted.
Yeah.
So that puts a bit of a dent in my airstrike strategy. So I would almost consider that neutralized, give or take. Our Rangers are going to have to duke it out, but you've got bigger squads. So
only 2. There's 2 squads of 12 and
but four of my squads equals your 2 squods.
Yeah, it's also true. Yeah, so, but that means more pins, and we've seen
more pins.
Yeah, we saw the last time that happened. You came at me with like 20 something.
Yeah, we did do that.
I think it'll be interesting. I don't know that like putting our list side by side. Like I get what you're saying, but at the same time, your bazookas are going to neutralize my HMGs.
I was going to say, and that's where that on paper we can predict certain things may happen.
Yeah.
But then you're right, a couple of dice either way, and it was like, maybe my air observers get shot by H machine guns, and in retaliation, my bazookas blow up all your H machine guns. There's a few things that'll happen there, but so that'll be interesting. I think it's going to be a good day regardless, and it's going to be looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. It's going to be a great time.
Excellent. Well, we will have to do a recap after Spartan. I would love one of us to be wearing the helmet.
But we'll just have to show these off during the day instead. If you want your own custom water dice bag, go talk to Brad.
Our very much appreciation sent out to Brad's missus for doing those up for us.
Absolutely, thank you.
And she also did the one for Spartan, the best general dice bag as well for Spartan. There is something about that helmet that just looks swish. So it's kind of like, to get one of those would be nice.
I love that it's you get the Spartan helmet. Yeah, it's not one of those. It is the helmet.
It's the only one. That's right. Yeah,
just all of the years of accumulated sweat and like dust from other people's garages. I
jumped in to support TOing on one of the events, and I deliberately put it on so I could say that I've worn it, but I've never earned it.
Well, I suppose Sunday's your chance.
Yeah, look, I'm going to give it a shot. It'll be. Let's just hope I can keep track of those objectives.
Yeah. I'm going to have a printout, that's for sure.
Well, I had to do up a cheat sheet that I put at the back of the pack for everyone to be like, this is what it could look like. And when I was doing it, I was like, I'm going to need more than this printout.
Yeah. I still need to do my pregame, like, tournament prep.
Yep. It's tomorrow night. But it should be good. We've got several tables that I'm providing. We've got Gilly bringing up some from down south. It's awesome event. Should be great.
Yeah, it'll be a great time. Go ahead, Dan.
Excellent. So everyone, we are back. We are coming along. Jacob's still got his little boy and taking care of that, and so we'll give him some slack, I guess. But we will catch you the next time for the recap. This has been the HMG podcast. We'll catch you next time.
See you, everyone.